Hey, geez. Hey, good morning, guys. We're going to start planning for the next phase or stage of our project, Wisdom Riders Diary. And so, with that, we're going to do some planning around organization. And what I have done here is created a document that's going to help you kind of go through the planning process. But I have also provided an example of my own work, all right, which I hope will help you, all right. And that's what we're looking at right here. So you will have your own copy of this to work through. I don't think it'll take you terribly long, but I think it is really important that you think about what you're about to do. All right, and I know that there's still some questions that remain about that, but I hope is that each time we come to this, it becomes a little more clear. What I would say is this in general, though: always go back to the example that we provided, this right here. All right, and I think the more frequently you look at this, the more clear things will become. All right, and so with each stage that we go through, I'm going to ask you to go back and revisit this, all right? Because I think it's important to use examples for models. That's why we're providing it, okay? So when in doubt, start here, all right? And then also ask questions, okay? And I will do the best that I can to reveal this. It's a fairly complicated, or not, no, let me rephrase that. It's a fairly complex, nuanced activity that we're doing here, and it just takes a little bit of time for it to fully reveal itself. And that's why we're kind of doing things step by step here. So please be patient through the process. All right. With that, as I said a moment ago, all right, we're going to continue to kind of go back to what we're trying to accomplish here, and we'll do that, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Today is really about thinking about how we're going to organize our diary in terms of chronology and number. All right, and so diaries are arranged chronologically. There has to be a time sequence to it. All right, and then you're also going to have to make some decisions about how many entries am I going to do. Our goal is to get to a critical mass of 3 to 500 words. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really not. All right. 3 to 500 words with just our diary entries, not counting our introduction and not counting our conclusion. Okay. So let's walk through this here a little bit. All right. Anything that you see highlighted in yellow requires a response. Okay. So the first one, and this is going back to our beginning, refer back to your discovery draft if you have to. All right, what is your universal theme for this project? Mine is loss, as I mentioned earlier in an example. Okay. Um, well, what event or experience am I going to use for this diary? And remember, the event is not what the diary is about. Okay. The event is just the starting point. The diary, the project, it really is about what wisdom we gained from the experience. Okay, so the event is the cause. All right, the diary is the effect. Because my parents got divorced, all right, that led me down a path, all right, that helped me arrive at some wisdom about loss. Okay, and so I think that that's going to be the hardest transition for some of us to make, is we're going to want to write about the event. Okay, and it's really not about the event. The event is just something that we're using to reveal the wisdom that we have gained from this. That's why it's called Wisdom Writers, all right? Because this is really about revealing your wisdom, okay? And so the significant experience that I'm using is my parents' divorce, okay? When I was 4 years old. Next question, all right? What wisdom do you want to explore, reveal about the experience in your diary? All right, see your theme statement in your discovery draft, not your thesis statement. Your thesis statement is your I am human one. Your theme statement is what you want to reveal about your universal theme by the end of your diary entries, okay? And so to help with that, I'd like you to consider using the provided starter. All right, I want people to understand. Okay, and so what I think that kind of compels or forces us to do is to really think about, what is my message? Like, what is the wisdom that I am trying to share with the world that I gained from this experience? Okay, so I just went on to explain what I wanted people to understand. I want people to understand that even though something like divorce results in great loss, and it did for me, it was brutal, all right, devastating, as you can imagine, as some of you even know, because you too have gone through divorce, or your parents have gone through divorce. Okay, there are things that can be gained, or there are things to be gained from loss, and that, I think, is what I want people to understand. is that though it may not be immediately apparent, I think we can gain from our losses. Okay, and my diary really is going to be about what I gained from that initial loss in terms of my understanding of what loss brings to the human experience. Okay, um, and so here's just where I want you to kind of play around a little bit with like, what is it you really want people to understand? Most of you are probably going to have to go back and revise your theme statements anyway, but this is a good opportunity for you to really think about this is what I want people to understand in terms of the wisdom that I'm going to bring to the table through this diary. All right. Um, and then not finally, next, how much time did it take for you to discover your truth? Okay. Or your wisdom about your universal theme. All right. So remember, I have to share my wisdom about loss here. Okay. Is it something that you discovered that same day? All right. Is it something that was a few weeks down the road, the following year, or over many years? For me, this has been a lifelong lesson. Okay. And that matters because that's going to help me consider and organize and approach my diary. All right. And so, because it's been a lifelong lesson, I have to show over the course of my life, 49 years, um, how I have learned from this initial event or experience about and what I have learned about loss and gain. Okay. So, with that, I want you to look back at your examples or at the examples from last year's Wisdom Riders. That's this critter right here. Again, I'm going to keep referring you back to this, okay? Um, to see how they organize their entries in terms of chronology and number, all right? And I think you'll find an assortment there. Some did one or two entries, some did many short entries, all right? Some spanned it out over the course of a few days, some spanned it out over the course of months or even years, okay? And so that's what I want you to think about a little bit, okay? Now, think about your work and what you want to share. In the space below, spend some time explaining a possible plan, all right? And this is just a possible plan. It's likely to change, okay? At the very least, indicate how many entries you are considering and what you will focus on in each one. For the sake of planning, please know that you have to have somewhere, as I said earlier, between 300 to 500 words with your diary, not counting introduction, not counting conclusion, okay? So here's my response. This is my initial plan. I'm going to do 5 entries. That might change, okay? I might do more. The first entry will start with the divorce and emphasize the loss, okay? So remember, there's always kind of a cause and effect as we're moving through this. This happened. This is how I'm processing it now and what I'm learning from it, okay? And so the first entry will emphasize that, okay? I got to move my face here. And then I went on to say the second through the fifth entries will be placed out over years, because remember I said that this was a lifelong deal for me, which will reveal something I have gained from the initial loss in terms of the wisdom that I have gleaned from this experience. I will definitely have to do some reflecting and brainstorming here, all right, as you will probably have to do with yours as well before we actually start the drafting process tomorrow, okay, or next week rather. My last in fifth entry will be as close. My last fifth entry, my last entry, my fifth, let's just say my fifth entry. How about that? My fifth entry will be as close to the present as I can make it. And again, the reason for that is to show that it continues to be a life lesson. All right. I can't say that it's been a life lesson and then, end my entries at age 10. Okay. Because that would be a childhood lesson. That wouldn't be a lifelong lesson. All right. So with that, guys, I know I've talked here a long time. All right. Take this for what it's intended to be, and that is a planning process. All right. I think it is natural and normal for you to still be a little unclear about ultimately where we're going with this, all right, as we kind of roll it out one piece at a time. And so just accept that, embrace that as like, okay, this is how I'm supposed to be feeling right now. As we continue through the process, things will become more clear, all right? And again, I would refer you back to the example, all right, so you can get a clearer picture of what the end game is going to look like, even if you don't know all the specific steps along the way. And I'm doing that for a reason, all right? And hopefully by the end, you see the wisdom in my approach here, pun intended. Okay, all right. So with that, guys, I'm going to peace out of here for today. All right. Please let me know if you have questions. Please use my example. All right. Please go back to the Wisdom Riders. All right, and use those examples as models as we move through this process. All righty. Peace out.